Okay, so we're diving into a story today that proves modern dating is, well, it's a minefield. Seriously, forget getting catfished. What happens when your perfect match is also the one threatening to kick you out of your apartment? Yeah, let's get into it.
So this story, it comes from a contributor named Alex, and he takes us on this wild ride from just, simple swipe right to a place you would never, ever expect. We're gonna hear it straight from him.
All right, so you gotta picture this. It's early 2023. I'm Alex. I'm a 30-year-old freelance coder living in Austin. Now, the tech scene here is awesome, but the rent, yeah, not so much. So I'm trying to juggle the dating scene and this constant fear that my rent's gonna just shoot through the roof. You know the drill. It's that classic millennial balancing act.
So there I am, back on Hinge. And look, I'm not looking for the one or anything too serious, Mostly just a low-key connection. Coffee dates only, because let's be real, a freelancer's paycheck can be a little unpredictable. And that is when I swipe right on a woman named Mia.
Her profile was just refreshingly normal, and that's exactly what drew me in. She seemed stable, she had a real job, and a pretty clever bio. In the absolute chaos of online dating, seeing someone who loves dogs and has a good sense of humor, it felt like a breath of fresh air, a total green flag.
And yeah, she proved she was witty right out of the gate. This was her opening line to me, a job-related pun that was actually funny. I actually laughed out loud. It was so much better than the endless stream of hey messages you usually get.
I had to come back with something decent, right? And just like that, the banter was just flowing. We were totally on the same wavelength. We talked about her rescuing pit bulls, my weekend bike rides, and by Wednesday, we had a coffee date locked in for Saturday. It was just easy.
So we meet up at this local spot, Houndstooth, and the conversation is just effortless. We're talking about her managing like 200 units downtown, my nightmares debugging code, stories from the dog park. It was one of those really rare first dates where you just feel an immediate, genuine connection.
And then, right in the middle of this great conversation, she asks this. And it felt like she just opened a door I'd been dying to walk through. Of course, little did I know, it was a door to a whole lot of drama. I, of course, immediately launched into my own housing nightmare.
My landlord situation was a total disaster. I was dealing with this faceless corporate black hole that only communicated through these cold, curt emails. They were illegally trying to jack up my rent by $200 in the middle of my lease and threatening to evict me and my cat, Mr. Whiskers, over a tiny, late $37 pet fee. The stress was just insane.
And her reaction?
It was pure sympathy. She immediately called it out, said the rent hike was illegal, and then she offered to help. She was a property manager, right? She knew this stuff. In that moment, I'm thinking, wow, I have found a real keeper. She was smart, empathetic, and seemed completely on my side. So date one was amazing. We planned a second one for that Friday, dinner at her place. I show up to her apartment. It's this sleek, new building, way nicer than mine, and the entire place just smells like garlic and homemade lasagna. The vibe was, it was perfect.
And the date itself is incredible. The lasagna is amazing, the wine is flowing, and we're really, really connecting. We're talking about past relationships, career failures, everything. There was a real spark. And yeah, our first kiss tasted like marinara sauce and, possibility.
So after dinner, we're just chilling on the couch, and she says, hey, she wants to look at that lease I emailed her, to help me out. She pulls out her laptop, opens the PDF, and starts scrolling. And this is where our little romantic comedy takes a very sharp turn into a psychological thriller. So this slide, it just perfectly captures the two realities that were crashing together in my head. As she's scrolling through my lease, I see it. The LLC, it's her company's parent corporation. My building's address, it's right there in her system. That rent hike notice I've been losing sleep over, her digital signature is on it. The pet fee threat, it's from her email template. It was her. My stomach just dropped.
The funny, empathetic woman I had just kissed was also the anonymous corporate landlord making my life an absolute hell. She wasn't just my date, she was my eviction notice.
The silence in that room was, it was thicker than the lasagna we just ate. I actually stood up, and the only thing I could get out was, "You knew?" It just felt like such a betrayal.
But she absolutely swore she didn't. She had tears in her eyes explaining she never connected my name
or my stories to the actual tenant file until she saw the address pop up on her screen right then and there. She told me she actually fights corporate on these policies all the time, but she usually gets overruled. I went home that night just feeling completely conflicted. But the very next day, this email hits my inbox, an official communication from Nameless LLC. My rent hike was reversed, the pet fee was waived, and the subject line said it all, courtesy of MR, Mia Russo. She had pulled some strings and probably risked her job to make it right.
Then came the flood of apology texts. She asked if we could meet up again, no leases involved this time, and I agreed. We met on neutral ground, back at the same coffee shop. We ended up calling it a cat-dog summit. I even brought Mr. Whiskers in his carrier to meet her dog Luna. We had to talk it all through.
And it was a process. First, you had the awful confrontation. But then, she immediately took action to fix the professional side of things. A week later, we met to set some really clear boundaries for our personal relationship. And then slowly, carefully, we started to rebuild. 6 months down the road, we were officially dating, and a lot had changed.
And here's the ultimate twist. The whole thing affected her so deeply she realized she couldn't keep working in that system. So she quit her high-paying corporate job and used all her industry knowledge to start a nonprofit dedicated to advocating for tenants' rights. She literally turned our mess into her mission.
So, what's the big takeaway from this completely bizarre dating story? For me, it was this. The real connection we found wasn't just about us. It was about realizing we were both just people trying our best inside a flawed, stressful system. The conflict wasn't really between me and her, it was with the faceless policies we were both trapped by.
It's a wild story, right? But it really makes you think about all the strange ways our work lives and our personal lives can just slam into each other. So I'll leave you with this question. What's the craziest conflict of interest you've ever stumbled into? Thanks for listening.